I'd like to call this meeting of council to order. May I have a motion to adopt the December 12th regular meeting agenda as presented? Councillor Thompson, Councillor Tripp, Councillor Butler.
I just wanted to add that late item from the Committee of the Whole agenda this morning for a motion to discuss Recreation Commission motion that was put forward.
Okay. All in favor?
You need a second.
Oh, Councillor Crawford. Okay. Anyone opposed? So carried. Minutes. May I have a motion to adopt the November 28, 2016 regular meeting minutes as presented? Councillor Thompson, Councillor Tripp. All in favor? Anyone opposed? So carried. Moving on to item 6. Reports, questions, and queries from members of council. May I have a motion? Prior to that, I believe, Councillor Tripp, you had a request. Turn it on.
Thank you, Mayor Conrad. Yes, I just was wondering if I might be able to read a report that I had submitted, but I think unfortunately there were some technical errors and it didn't actually get into the agenda. So if I could read that for you.
Oh. Absolutely. Proceed, please.
Thank you very much. So my report, and wouldn't you know, this happens to be one of the longer ones, but I'll try and read very quickly. So it's for tonight's meeting, and since our last regular meeting, there have been a lot of council activities to report on. During the morning of November 22nd, I attended a winter stakeholder meeting held at MCON, and this was concerning highway and road maintenance services. They were outlined for winter highway driving in the Kootenay and Boundary area, for which MCON holds the contract. It was a very informative meeting, and especially for groups such as the ambulance, fire, and emergency services, and there were a number of those people present because they're traveling the highways during all weather conditions, and it's good for them to know just how MCON is what they're doing on the roads. I was also happy to note that our fire chief, Dale Harriott, also attended that meeting. The day went on from there to include a budget workshop that I had previously requested to address numerous questions that I had on the 2016-2020 financial plan bylaw amendment. And most of council was present at the workshop that happened that day, where the CFO gave a very well-crafted PowerPoint presentation, guided us through various aspects of city budgeting procedures, taxation allocations, and city spending. It was a great overview and a great starting point, but some of the questions that I had put forward were still not addressed through the budget workshop. But as promised, a couple of weeks later, I did get information that I was seeking from the CFO very adequately, very well expressed, and I'm very happy with the response that I received. And I'm feeling much more confident now as we move forward into the next budgeting process. I feel that I understand the budget and the financial plan a lot better than I did when I was first elected. I also attended a luncheon held by the Interior Health Association Collaborative Services Committee of the Kootenay Boundary. This was a Community Leaders Roundtable lunch at which all of council came, and they were presenting a patient medical home primary care model for care. And that's a bit of a mouthful, and it was a little bit of a challenge to wrap our heads around what they were actually bringing to the table for us to discuss. But they were introducing new team-based approaches to primary care that envisions nursing and allied care staff working directly with physicians and nurse practitioners in the area. The role of the community in sustainable health system in British Columbia was also discussed. So they're looking at more of a community concept for sustainable health. At the meeting, they also announced that the Boundary has been given a $100,000 $100,000 to pilot a proof of concept for this work. And one of the questions that was asked was a very pertinent question. Because of this program, will we be losing our hospital? Thankfully, the answer to that was a resounding no. And we definitely will be looking forward with interest to see how this new approach to medical care serves the residents in the Boundary. After that, on that day, which was an extremely busy day, our Realtors Roundtable discussion took place during the afternoon. Only a few realtors were present, but they provided some helpful insights into the state of real estate in the city, which they actually reported this year has been very great. I believe these roundtable discussions, and there have been a number of other topics for which roundtable discussions have been held. I just really believe they're an excellent way to engage invested community groups and stakeholders. And who better to talk to than those in the community who are actually have boots on the ground and are doing these things. I also think that it lets the city, lets these people know that the city is very interested in obtaining their feedback, and hopefully next year these roundtable discussions will be better attended. On Monday, December the 5th, I attended a presentation by two representatives from the Ministry of Forest Lands and Natural Resources Operations, FLNR, FLNRO, yes, thank you. That's a mouthful. They came and gave a presentation on the Overton Moody Range unit, which is also known as Gilpin Grasslands. And for me, the main takeaways of this information session were that on various pieces of ground, there can be numerous jurisdictions, tenures, resource uses, and overlapping programs and ministries involved. The Gilpin's grasslands uses include wildlife, grazing for cattle, recreational use, parklands, water use, and several others. The inter-use departments within the government work collaboratively to get the maximum benefit out of Crown lands use and also designated parkland use. And year over year, many variables come into play concerning best management practices for the land. Many authorized users of the land need to coexist, and public education combined with the city's involvement in the ongoing management of the area was identified as a very important element. Another issue that was identified in the workshop was that there should be representation and collaboration between City Council and the Boundary Invasive Species Council, as invasive species transmission into the Overton Moody Range apparently is quite problematic. And as this will be our last council meeting before the Christmas break, I just wanted to take this opportunity to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and happy holidays, and may you just have a real joyful season. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tripp. May I have a motion to receive Councillor Tripp's report, seeing as there are no other reports? Councillor Butler, Councillor Ross, all in favor? So carried. Next item is the report from the RDKB rep, which would be myself, and due to the fact that we had our director from Area D, Rolly Russell, present this morning at the Committee of the Whole, and our Deputy Corporate Officer, which elaborated on most of the issues at the BEDC meeting, I was saved the grace of not having to give a report tonight, so there will be no report to receive. They did the work for me, and I thank them. Recommendations from staff for decision. Item 8A, Chief Financial Officer, subject matter write-off of uncollectibles. And the recommendation is that Council directs staff to write off uncollectible business licenses for Creative Rockworks, Dark Coat Seal Coating and Paving, Shelley's Belfry, Stubby Dogs, Valleywide Home Improvements, Wayne's Windshield Service, and Recommended Auto Body. May I have a mover, please? Councillor Thompson, Councillor Butler, Councillor Croft.
Yeah, just a note. I went into Bilo the other day, and I thought I saw a new poster saying Shelley's Belfry was having an opening or had just opened or something like that. So it looked like it was a recent poster that came up. So I was curious as to why it ended up on there.
You are Chief Financial Officer.
Yes, I have a note here from my staff that Shelley's Belfry operates now under a different receivables code, so a new owner. So it looks like they bought the business license for this year, or for or last year, I should say, under a new name.
Oh,
Yeah.
Councillor Thompson?
Just for clarification to our CFO, so they're operating under a new name, operating or doing business as Shelley's Belfry?
That's what it looks like. The poster was.
I'm not sure what the new name is, but it looks like they were actually billed, because we automatically bill at the beginning of every year.
Right.
They were billed under the old license, and then they came and got their application. under
Oh,
the
okay,
new
so,
license.
okay.
Our CAO.
Never mind.
And our CFO has asked if we can have Bud meet up with some of these folks that are there. So I said, good thought, and we're going to have Bud start going out and checking in on these businesses. So Bud will be checking in. So those questions we'll make sure we're not being, there's not a shell game.
Okay, so there will be a form of enforcement of the business licenses.
Yes.
A follow-up, so to speak.
Yeah.
Perfect. Kate, all in favor? So carried. Information items. 10A. Subject matter, grant and aid request from the Grand Forks Choral Society regarding music education costs of the event performance at Carnegie Hall in New York City in 2017. Recommendation that council receives for discussion the grant and aid request from the Grand Forks Choral Society regarding music education costs of the event performance of Carnegie Hall in New York City in 2017. May I have a mover, please? Councillor
For
Tripp.
discussion?
Yeah, receive for discussion.
Oh, I'll make that motion.
Oh, we have a Councillor
Oh,
Tripp,
okay.
seconded Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so now we're open for discussion. Councillor Cross.
We all know how I feel about grants and aid. It's a cool opportunity for them, but again, I don't believe in grant and aid, so I can't support it. I'll support the receipt.
Any others? Councillor Thompson, Councillor Hammond afterwards.
Through you to our CAO and CFO, what is our policy on these kinds of requests?
We don't think, council's policy was just redone in 2014, 2015, and it was quite clear that the council would not support these types of situations, requests. The reason that it's on the agenda is we want to make sure that it does go through to council, so council will see it. But it's always incumbent upon council to look at their policy, but the policy has been discussed and broken down and restructured many times, and what council has found is if they continue to open the door on these situations, there will be a lineup out the door for these types of requests. And not that we're trying to diminish the activity, it's just that council is tasked with many different things, and this isn't one of them.
Councillor Hammond.
Yeah, I'm very happy that they're going, and I'm very excited for them that they're able to perform at Carnegie Hall. But like our CAO just said, we have school groups that travel internationally every year, and they fundraise for the entire year. They don't come to us for money, and I'd be concerned that if we made an exception, then any other groups that want to take trips or special long field trips or whatever are going to be coming to the city. This isn't city business, so I know we have a policy in place that we don't, so I'm very excited for them, and I wish them well, and I wish I could go too.
Yeah. Councillor Tripp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, one thought that came my way from a resident, actually someone who is a member of the choir, was a suggestion that if there was some way that there could be something reciprocal coming back to the city. As I see it, it's just, like a lot of these organizations go out and they'll do something outside of the community, but if there was something that they could do within this venture that would benefit the community, would that be a piece that could potentially be looked at and maybe this brought back for a second consideration if something like that could be put into it?
Bring back all the choir groups to sing here. New tourists.
So there you go.
But not at our expense.
No, they're expensive.
Okay, so the motion is to receive for discussion, and unless the discussion has been, if there's any further discussion, I'm going to call the question. All in favor to receive for discussion? Anyone opposed? So carried. There's no bylaws, there's no late items.
Yeah.
Oh, there is a late item? Yes, there is. My apologies, there is. Okay.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So council had a pretty robust discussion this morning with the regional director and a couple members from the Rec Commission regarding an idea that was brought forward by the Rec Commission to form an advisory body for additional recreational and cultural events activities within the city. And through that discussion, the CAO mentioned that it might be a good idea for him to take this to the CAO from the regional district to discuss with him options for moving forward and maybe to take it to the regional district table. So that required a motion to be brought at a regular meeting. So I just wanted to make that motion now, that the CAO meet with the CAO of the regional district to discuss options for an advisory body to develop increased recreation and cultural activities in the district.
May I have a seconder? Councillor Krog. Any discussion? Further discussion? Councillor Butler.
Just kind of a side note, it's not really involved with this motion, but I just wanted to congratulate Tom Spredo and Regional District Rec Commission for receiving $50,000 from the Canada 150 grant to go to the resurfacing of the pool deck this year. That was quite an accomplishment for them, and Tom does a great job down there, so I just wanted him to be recognized for that.
Thank you, Councillor Butler. To our CEO.
Could we get Councillor Butler's motion for the minutes, just so we
Sure.
get everything? Thank you. To the corporate officer.
Do you want it read back? Is that what you're saying?
No, we'll just get a copy of what,
Oh,
or
sure.
do you have it written, or?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
So unless there's any further discussion, all in favor? Anyone opposed? So carried. Having said that, we are now down to questions from the public and the media, and again, it should pertain to the subject matter on the agenda, which there wasn't that much. So I encourage anyone to come forward.
Worship, councillors, good evening. Nigel James is my name, and I live in Grand Forks. It is actually a part of the agenda because it's number 13 is questions from the public, and I have a question. I didn't raise it this morning because I felt at 12 noon there was the sort of attitude which I would have been received. I'd have been not only would have lost my gloves, I'd have lost my head as well as I was thrown out of the door. I felt that the council had had quite enough this morning.
It could still happen.
Then I would. What I like is to, what I need to do actually it's to. The question is, could the council's procedure be amended slightly? And the reason for this is, it's been remarked on several times that it is difficult for the public to get questions into the council. And for some people, the people, shall we say, who have jobs 9 to 5, basically, they can only come along at this evening's regular meeting. And of course, as you pointed out, Your Worship, it's got to be on the agenda. And questions from the public is on the agenda. So the only other time when they can come along and be freely is after the committee of the whole. Well, people who are working basically can't attend. And this is just a way that maybe, if it's agreed, and if you discuss it and whatever, think of it over Christmas, on Christmas Day, perhaps over eating turkey, then you might think this is a brilliant idea. I must admit it's not my original idea because I've seen it working efficiently at another city called Rancho Mirage near Palm Springs. And what happens is basically when the council first meets, and they meet at, I think it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon once a week, I think. What happens is anybody who wants to make a mini presentation can do it, but they've got 3 minutes only. And after 3 minutes, the exit timer runs out and the door is closed. But they can say what they like, etc. No questions are asked, there's no debate, etc. So it gets over and done within 3 minutes. And if there are 2 people or 3 people, you could say that's 10 minutes at the beginning of every meeting, if possible, where you could get people to give their impressions and what they would like to talk about. For instance, it might be talk about the Royal Canadian Air Force coming to occupy the airfield on July the 17th, or was it? I couldn't remember the date, etc. Or alternatively, how brilliant the lights were in Gyro Park this year. And this is about the only time one can do it. And the thought is that if it's done just for 10 minutes, you can get 3 people through, and the first 3 get the chance, and all they do is they fill in a little slip of paper saying, this is my name, so the recording secretary gets it right. They then say, my address or my property is da-da-da-da, wherever it's located, so you know that they are bona fide citizens, or if they are from Area D or whatever, then you know. And perhaps lastly the telephone number, because if anyone thinks it's, hey, what a brilliant idea they've come forward with, you can contact them and carry it on. And continue the discussion privately and maybe bring that idea back to the council in a week or 2 or whatever. That's basically it, really, Your Worship. And the advantages of this, I see, is it gives everybody a chance to address publicly their ideas or their comments or their complaints, if need be. There's no debate, unlike that gentleman who felt very strongly about the coloured crosswalks and so on, because that went on for over 20 minutes. And the council and staff have got the basic information to speakers, and you've only got, shall we say, 10 minutes maximum, and that has the advantage that you can get rid of the ne'er-do-wells. In the first 10 minutes they can go out of the door and that's the end of them. And the disadvantages, well, you've only got three talkers, and if there's nobody there, guess what? You can get on with work. Thank you, Your Worship.
The advantage is if you have it at the end of the meeting, most people are too tired to wait that long.
Well, that's very true, and what's more, people probably won't, if they knew that they could have 3 minutes shot at not just you or the staff and the city, and bring some brilliant ideas, then they'd be much more likely to come along, be ready for it, and they know that 3 minutes, you've got an egg timer on your desk or something like that.
Yes.
That's it.
I believe it's Roslyn that has their public discussions prior to their meetings rather than at the end. I believe it's Roslyn.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, there is opportunities that exist in the in different formats that councils use. Councils use that. I've seen councils accept the questions in, and then the mayor may read them out, questions out. Our council does receive questions or information through the weekly summary, and then they're addressed through the different forms. The delegation process that we use here is something that delegations usually come in and talk to council about business that pertains to the city. But the questions that Mr. James is talking about are there is some. It sounds pretty interesting. We've attended conferences where they have the questions going up, and what's happening is it's live, and then the questions are going up on the screen, and then the panel is actually discussing the questions as they arise, the most popular question. So you've been in a room with 250 people, then 50 people will check off that they support that question and would like to have that one answered. And so we've seen that it's an interesting undertaking. There's opportunities for us to explore different things as we move into the new year to be able to look at.
In our situation, unfortunately, we might need a room with a soundproof glass so that we don't want to listen anymore, we switch it off. But a very interesting concept, Mr. James. Something that I guess we could ponder over. Should council have the flavor for that? Councillor Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I like the sound of the idea. I think it's a great opportunity to make it easy for people to come in and talk. You don't have to register 2 weeks in advance to be a delegation, and most people don't know the hoops they have to jump through, and it's just easier to come in, say your piece, and then you don't have to sit through the whole meeting in order to be able to speak to the issue that you'd like to. On the other hand, I probably wouldn't be here if that had happened, because I sat through many council meetings waiting to say what I wanted to say and got hooked, so that might be a disadvantage.
And I think Councillor Butler really ought to be much more dedicated like I am.
Thank you again. Is there any other questions from the gallery or discussion matters? Gentlemen in the back.
I'm just curious, Councillor Tripp brought it up.
I know who you are, sir, but could you, for the record, please, for the record.
Thank you. Could we have like a trophy gallery downstairs where liberated items could be brought back from forays off into the world, maybe auctioned off to help pay for a grant and aid for the next trip?
Your sheet is turning into a fun evening because the agenda is so short. Any other discussions? Okay, having said that, may I have a motion to adjourn? Councillor Thompson, Councillor Crock. You weren't the first councillor.
I know, I didn't want to be here.
All in favor?
I'm overachiever.
So carried.